welcome to the Tea and a Butty podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
Today's episode, we're going to be talking about a very famous science fiction franchise. And it's not Star Wars, it's the other one.
The other star thing.
Yes. I mean, specifically, we'll be talking about the newest show, Discovery.
Yeah.
Star Trek Discovery.
Which just started back up on Thursday.
With its third season, yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe it's been 3 seasons already.
Yeah, they just pumped these seasons out now. Star Trek's back.
Yeah. Dominic's a big Star Trek head. For
Erica got me into it, when I came over.
I got you into it.
Yeah, before that, I didn't know who was who. I thought R2-D2, Kirk.
Oh my god.
I was all confused, and I came over here, and she was like, "Oh, if you're going to be married to me, you have to know the differences."
Sarcasm.
Yeah, I'm the major fan, and if any of you don't care about it, then sorry about this. Sorry about this episode. But before we get into the episode,
sorry about this. I'm so
because
sorry.
some of the some topics they're going to just be like, "Oh, you're talking about things I don't care about," like like places I don't want to go there.
I mean, this is just a little PSA, isn't it, about this podcast? Because I don't know what you guys come here expecting.
You come here expecting good quality content, and I have it.
Well, I mean,
we have it.
I think sometimes we can lead people to
believe that we're talking about something worthwhile.
Yeah, yes, exactly. No, to think that we're just another one of those like all British versus American content.
Which has nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can get a lot of like miles out of like stuff, and we do that obviously.
I mean, we're not doing it for miles though, are we? It's like genuinely stuff being British and American. It's genuinely things that we have talked about.
We're gonna have to let
years.
them know one day that I was born in Boston, and I parked my car in Harvard's park
yard. Oh my god.
Anyway, yeah.
Oh,
are you gonna?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep rambling for a second.
Oh, we're gonna ramble. We haven't got time for this.
As he checks his watch. No, but we do because we're British and American. It comes naturally that we talk about these kinds of things. But the whole point of this show, in case this is your first episode listening to us, is that we're just having a chat.
We're just having a chat. We're just
talking. Like you would over tea and a buddy. A buddy, of course, being the British
sandwich,
yeah.
Or a sarnie.
A butter sandwich.
We could have called ourselves tea and a sarnie.
Delicious butter sandwich.
Well, it's not. No, it's not just butter. It's not just bread and butter.
It's bread and butter with something.
Meat.
Yeah, but who puts butter? Okay, this is another topic.
Yes, we're going to talk about that in a video. Okay. So you can see the disgust on Erica's face about this.
But yes, you come to this podcast for a wide variety of topics. We just talk about things that we're interested in. Okay?
Yeah. And
the end.
The end. Yeah. And I happen to be interested in Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
But before we get on to the episode, we must talk about our giveaway.
Yes.
We've got a giveaway. Yeah, for our 200th episode. 200. That's a mouthful to say, isn't it? There's a lot of episodes. And if you've been with us since the beginning, bless your heart. Bless your heart in a non-sarcastic way.
Yes, no.
Because you've had to put up with us.
Bless your heart. Yeah, that wasn't exactly the appropriate.
No, I actually mean bless you. Bless you.
Bless you, yes.
Bless you. Wherever you are.
Oh my gosh.
Me being John Lennon there.
Yeah. But yeah, we have a giveaway, so go and enter. It's all kinds of Texas stuff. If you follow us on social media, or actually even if you just ever glance at our website, you'll have seen a picture of all the things.
All the things.
Yeah.
All the things we're giving away. It's like a Texas tea giveaway.
Yeah. We're calling it Texas tea a la Beverly Hillbillies, only there's no oil involved in this package.
Well, there might be.
Oh, there probably is somewhere.
I was digging in the backyard the other day and I found some.
There's plastic packaging, so that's oil. Yeah.
That's oil. There you go. No, we're giving away like goodies and stuff that's related to Texas, and we got a lot of them from HEB, and well, yeah, we live in Texas, in case you didn't know. Because we don't go on about it enough.
Yeah.
But yes, you've got to enter, say Texas tea for me, and tag 3 friends that you think might be interested in this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Real people, preferably.
The end. Yeah. Goodbye.
Anyway, on to Star Trek.
Star Trek Discovery, yes. A lot of people don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that kind of thing, you know, with a franchise. I mean, it's the same with Star Wars. It's the same with anything that's been popular, like, for 50-odd years.
Yeah.
That's built up a fan base, and it goes away, and then it comes back, and people are like, I don't like it, it's not my Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because if you're not a Star Trek fan, then you probably have no idea what it is. You know, people, if Star Trek to a lot of people means Kirk and Spock and Dr. McCoy and Scotty and Beam Me Up Scotty and all that, you know, from the 60s TV show.
Speaking of that, can I interrupt you again? Really quickly, because I just realized, if you guys listen to our famous people, this just reminded me, because some of Dominic's famous people that he's met have been Star Trek people. Yeah. If you listen to our famous people that we have met podcast a couple podcasts ago, we forgot to reveal which one was the lie. The which one was the lie? A couple people asked us over. A couple of people asked us over DM on social media, so they already know the answers. But we forgot to just say generally in the podcast, like we said we were going to. Yeah,
just an aside.
That happens sometimes. All of mine were real. All of my people were real.
Mine was Ronnie Wood, as if you couldn't guess, because that was a terrible made-up story. Oh, he walked into the Star one night. It was just like, and you were just like, yeah, okay. Keep going, you know.
Yeah,
it was terrible. I was just like, oh God, what am I saying? I should have written this down. I'm not very good off the cuff, you know. But
yeah, we've met some Star Trek people.
Yes, we've seen the entire Next Generation cast. If you're a Star Trek fan, yeah. we saw them at their 25th anniversary in 2012.
Worf waved at me, by the way.
Yes, Michael Dorn waved at her, and Jonathan Frakes smiled at me, and Marina Sirtis smiled at both of us.
Yeah.
And I said hello, and obviously I said hello to Patrick Stewart, and he just went, yeah. And that was enough for me. I was on the Enterprise.
But yeah, why do they hate Star Trek Discovery then, Star Trek fans?
Because it's new. It was a prequel, but that's pretty much what it is. Yeah. It's because it's new, it's not the Next Generation, it's not Deep Space Nine, it's not Voyager, it's not Enterprise. Everybody hated Enterprise when it came out because it was a prequel.
Yeah.
And what we mean by prequel is it was set in universe, it was set before the rest of the shows. So it was set
before the original series.
Before the original series even, you know.
Which, for anybody like I was before I became well-versed in Star Trek, the original series is the one with Captain Kirk in it, you guys.
Yes, the original series. It used to be called just Star Trek before all the other incarnations and spin-offs came around, you know.
Yeah.
It was now renamed the TOS, you know, the original series.
Yeah.
Which is what kicked it off. I mean, that ran for 3 seasons, you know, Kirk, Spock, Scotty, Dr. McCoy, Uhura, Chekhov, Sulu, all that. The original Starship Enterprise.
Yeah.
That's, you know, when Next Generation came around in the late 80s, the fans weren't having it. You know, they were like, yeah, no, we're not doing this. New crew, set in a new time. It was set out like 100 years later.
Yeah.
From the events of the original series. Then they had like Deep Space Nine and Voyager, which was set around the same time as Next Generation.
Yeah.
And then they went back to Enterprise. Which was set before. It was set at like the founding of the Federation. If you're familiar with Star Trek lore, you'll know all this.
And Star Trek Discovery was also set before
the first 2
series,
seasons
right?
was set before 10 years before the original series.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, they were set on the ship Discovery. Commander Michael Burnham is the main character.
Yeah.
So the first 2 seasons were okay. You know, traditionally Star Trek series have ropey first seasons because, you know, it's shaking out the bugs, you know, the writing is like, oh, how do I write this? You know, the acting is like, how do I act this? You know, it's the same.
My problem with the first 2 seasons of Discovery
is
just, like you said, it's new. with that comes just
new production values as well.
Yeah, and so it just doesn't work for me.
It's production values too.
It's production values, but also to me it seemed like their technology seemed far advanced from what they were doing and what Captain Kirk and Spock were doing.
You know, at the end of the day, you know, it's like that old adage when the motion picture came out because of the success of Star Wars. Because when the original series was cancelled in 1969, pretty much everyone forgot about Star Trek, you know, like, well, the mainstream media anyway. The fans, you know, kept it alive in reruns and syndication and everything, so it had a growing audience. Star Wars happened, that was a massive success, that was science fiction, and it was like, Paramount were like, well, what can we do to rival it? Oh yeah, that show, Star Trek. Yeah. You know, let's get Captain Kirk and everyone back on the thing. And so they had a big budget and everything was there, and, you know, that's when it started gathering momentum, and then they made a new series and the technology was better. It's just all production kind of value, the production values of those were, you know, they didn't have any money.
Yeah. But also it was the 60s.
Yeah. So, you know, the Klingons just look like people in, like, tan makeup.
But to me that doesn't work, trying to go back in time to before that in 2000 and whatever.
Yes,
you know.
It doesn't work. I mean, because the
production value now is more. They've got more money, but also so many years have passed that they can do all kinds of special effects that they couldn't do back then. And so therefore it makes it look like their technology
is more advanced than, like, what was going on in the Enterprise
than what was going on then in a few years.
And it's funny, you know, when they, like, did, I think Gene Roddenberry said when they created the new Klingon makeup with the forehead ridges and the hair and the teeth and everything, he said, that's what I always envisioned Klingons looking like, but we just didn't have the budget for it. Yeah. So it's like, use your imagination. I mean, you know?
In that way, I would say, and this is going to be controversial for any Star Trek hardcore fans listening, but I would say that that Star Wars has done a lot better job at doing prequels and things.
You're going to get Star Wars fans riled up because they do not like the prequels.
I know, but I'm just saying, as far as nothing looked like more advanced or like a lot different. Forget the storyline, you know. Just nothing. Everything looked like it could have been at the same time period or just around the same time period. Whereas in Star Trek,
in Star Trek,
it doesn't.
Star Trek is classic science fiction. Star Wars is fantasy. You know, it's like it would be easy to make a Game of Thrones prequel. You know what I mean? If you think about it, because there's nothing really to kind of go, oh well, you know. In 1960s, they were still using styluses, you know, to write on the thing, and that was the height of thing. Yeah. You know, because it's talking about humanity. Star Trek is, and then, you know, fast forward a few years, technology and everything, it's like it looks futuristic. It's like, oh, what does that do? They can, you know, tap their badges and talk to people. Yeah. And, you know, they've kept some of the, you know, for Discovery, they've kept the flip communicator and all that because, you know, if they were using badges, it would be like, why would they go from that to that and then back again? But even
just their uniforms, to me, look more modern than, like, the original series.
The original series were just, like, yellow tunic and ruffled pants.
I don't know. It just takes me out of the universe watching it to go, okay, wait. This is before Kirk right here? You know, it's just like...
And at the end of the day, it's kind of like they're trying to attract new fans.
Yeah. So I mean, they're doing the lens flare stuff from the films, right?
From the and that's another...
From the J.J. Abrams
The J.J. Abrams films with Chris Pine, which was another whole thing. Because when Enterprise was cancelled in 2005, it was goodbye to Star Trek. Mm-hmm. Paramount said, we're not going to be making any more Star Trek series. It's dead. Yeah. You know, they didn't say it's dead, but a lot of people were like, it's dead. There's no, and for like 5 years, for about the ratings kind of slipped for it and everything, and it was a little bit crazy and everything. There's still fans who are campaigning, you know, keep it on the air and stuff.
I thought it was pretty good
It was pretty good. It was pretty good, yeah. Then they did J.J. Abrams took up the films, because there was no films after Nemesis either. There was absolutely no production of any Star Trek show or film, nothing.
Yeah.
You know, the only medium it was happening in was, I think, gaming. So, when J.J. Abrams rocked up and said, "Oh, I'm going to make a Star Trek film and it's going to feature Kirk and Spock," everybody was like, "Why? Why would you do this?"
Yeah.
Oh, you know, we're going to have Chris Pine as Kirk and Zachary Quinto as Spock. Everybody just, I hate this. And we're going to have Leonard Nimoy as Spock in it too.
Yeah.
People are like, what? The fans are all freaking out because, you know, they're used to kind of like progression in the show. You know, like Voyager was at that time the latest in-universe show, you know.
Yeah.
And after that, you know, it was kind of like, I like that, you know. And so now Discovery Season 3 is set in the 32nd century.
Yeah.
Because the earlier shows was 23rd and 24th. And well, of course, there's the Picard show now, which has got Patrick Stewart back, which had a ropey first season. But I think I'm excited to see the second season because, you know, they're going to have Whoopi Goldberg back as Guinan, and they're probably going to have more, you know, like people that Trek fans know.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna be into that, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Discovery, people hate it because it's new. It's a new ship. It's a new show. It's a new crew. It's not set. There's no tie-in to.
There's no Enterprise.
There's no Enterprise. Yes, I think that's what the main problem is.
It's not on the Enterprise.
It's not on the Enterprise, and or you know, like, a lot of people probably didn't like Deep Space Nine or Voyager because of that as well, because it wasn't the Enterprise.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though, with these new shows. I mean, Discovery, you know, there was obviously they're a Starfleet ship and everything. But, you know, they're showing, like, the Federation's got... And this is spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the new episode, so if you don't listen past this point. In the third season, they've gone to the 32nd century. It's gone. The Federation's gone. It's gone. Starfleet is not there anymore, the galaxy's kind of thing, because of this event that happened a century before.
I kind of wonder,
and I find it really good, but I know there's going to be fans out there going, "Oh, I don't like this new Enterprise, no Federation, it's not like TNG, it's not episodic, it's all a story arc, I don't like that."
I kind of wonder, well, Deep Space Nine was all a story arc too,
in the later seasons, because that was the trend TV was taking.
Story arc, you know, basically
everything, basically soap opera kind of thing. But, you know, with Star Trek, the original series, and for the early episodes for most of Next Generation, it was a new adventure every week.
Yeah.
You know, it was like every episode you could watch it and not have to have watched the preceding episodes or the later episodes to get...
There's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
But then you also have, like, people who are into, like, Game of Thrones, and they want to sit and watch it like they it's one big long movie.
Binge watching has become the norm.
Yeah.
And so they're just
and
kind of like...
you can binge watch episodes, but it's not quite the same thing as, like, it doesn't make you want to... It doesn't... You don't necessarily want to watch the next episode because you have to. You know what I mean? To find out what's going to keep going, what's going to keep happening.
It's kind of like... Take Next Generation, for example, and early seasons of Deep Space Nine and Voyager. Well, Voyager kind of like had its story arc. They were trying to get home.
Yeah.
So it's like someone
just
trying to get home. You know, they were lost in the Delta Quadrant and they were trying to get home. So that was kind of like the theme of the show, you know?
Yeah.
But every week they encountered someone new or something this, and, you know.
Yeah.
And it worked. But, you know, nowadays, Discovery's like, you know, it's like, we've got to find out what's happened with the burn and all this kind of stuff.
I think...
There's a big story arc.
Don't you think,
Picard the first season was a big story arc of, you know...
Don't you think that fans are going to like it more now, though? Because it's now set in a future where we don't...
Well, I like it more now. I wasn't really sold on the first two seasons.
Nah, I wasn't either.
I mean, I like the introduction of Captain Pike, who... For hardcore Trekkies will know him as the first on-screen captain.
That's because it was a character you were familiar with.
Yes.
I didn't like seeing Spock, though. Well, it's like, how many Spocks do we need? I mean, like, Leonard Nimoy is the only Spock for me.
Well, it's kind of like the same kind of thing as Sean Connery being the only James Bond.
Yes.
You know?
It is. It is the same thing, yes.
And, but there's been, 5 other actors to play him,
It doesn't matter.
It's kind of like it's just a character, and so many people play it. And, Ethan Peck, he does a great job as Spock, I think. Zachary Quinto did too, if he's ever going to come back and do it,
Do you know whether the writers of Discovery, this is just me asking, whether they intended to go this direction, or if this is just they decided, we need to move them into the future because the fans are not interested in this.
I think they just made it up as they went along.
You think so?
I think it was a kind of thing of, okay, we'll do this, and maybe after the second series, it was like, yeah, we should move this into the future because that's what Star Trek's all about, and and we've got a whole new, because that's the main problem fans have with prequels. It kind of messes with established canon.
Yeah.
With The Mandalorian, I'm going back to Star Wars now, it's between the original trilogy of films and the Disney trilogy of films, So they've got a bit of leeway there.
Yeah.
And, they can kind of like tell the story.
Mm.
And it's like my friend who's a big Star Trek fan, and he's pretty much responsible for getting me into it, I think, when we were kids. He says, yeah, I like those kind of things. I like Enterprise, and I like it because it's filling in the gaps.
Yeah, I think so too.
And it's like, yeah, it's filling in the gaps, but if you're saying like,
as long as it's done well,
it's a show. It's going to be fallible. It's like, it's just a TV show, as William Shatner says, And people get so like, oh no, they didn't meet the Ferengi until this date. Because they said it in an episode of TNG or whatever. They didn't meet the Ferengi, or they didn't know what the Romulans looked like before Kirk's time. And it's just like, yeah, it's just kind of like whoever's writing it now didn't bother to look that up. Yeah. And it's like, we got the internet now and stuff, so it's easier to know.
Either that or they just
don't care.
Yeah.
They're just like new fans who've just come out and say, what's this Star Trek Discovery? I've never watched Star Trek before. What's that all about?
Yeah.
Dude, like, they're not going to be like, oh, this isn't how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, no.
It's a new show.
And there are going to be new fans.
Yeah. And it's like, when they were talking to Patrick Stewart about coming back to the role of Jean-Luc Picard in the Picard show.
Yeah.
They were talking about, do you think this is going to get new fans? Do you think people know who you are?
Yeah.
Besides Star Trek fans.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, because they're trying to pull new people in.
Yeah.
And which is what the J.J. Abrams movies did. Mm-hmm. People who had no idea about Star Trek and were not interested in it before it became this blockbuster thing. And, someone says, oh, they might know you as the facepalm guy. Kids today, they were talking about. The facepalm guy, which was,
I was like, what
the GIF,
are you talking about?
The facepalm guy. And he's like, oh, the facepalm. And it's him in character as Jean-Luc Picard when he facepalms.
You said facepalm. I'm thinking like some kind of pomade. Like, has he done a commercial where he's like rubbing some kind of pomade on his face? Or what are you talking about?
No,
facepalm.
I mean, if you spend any time on the internet, you know what GIFs are or GIFs or whatever. And, people like, say something crazy or something, on Twitter or Instagram or something like that. And someone responds with a GIF of Captain Picard facepalming because he did it quite a bit in The Next Generation. Well, he did it a couple of times. But it's like, it's just like, oh. I remember what episode, that GIF that they use mostly, I remember what episode it was too.
Oh my gosh.
It was the Drumhead. And it's just like, no, I've been forgetting sometimes. Like if I watch an episode or see it on TV, I'm just like, oh, what one's this one?
Oh my God.
I'm like Patrick Stewart now in that hotel when he says, I turned on the TV. I was there for like something, and I turned on the TV and I'd ordered room service, and it was Star Trek The Next Generation. I was like, oh, I don't remember this one. So I was there watching it, and the room service guy came in. I said, oh, come in, and he was like, and then I thought about it. I was like, I'm sitting here watching. I'm sitting here watching. This guy's going to go back to the freaking kitchen. It's Patrick Stewart up there watching old reruns of Star Trek The Next Generation. What a sad git, It's just like he's watching his old show. And it's just like, no, I just didn't remember what this episode was about, It's like, and, I think I'd be the same way. It's like, I don't know, because they made, 300 episodes or whatever it was, of the whole season, the 7 seasons. And they were, they it was ultimately more successful and had more longevity than the original series, you know.
Yeah.
Because they could get 7 seasons out of it, and they got it through 3 times, you know, with DS9 and Voyager. You know, they managed to create it and hit it on the nose.
I used to watch it when I was little.
Enterprise only got 4.
And all that.
Yeah, yes. I mean, they had the great mix of characters. They had the Enterprise. They had a great senior officers, crew, and stuff. And the lower decks.
We may have to do another episode on the lower decks.
The lower decks cartoon. I thought I wasn't really going to be into.
Yeah.
But and I started watching it. I was like, oh, this is actually quite funny because, you know, if you're a Star Trek fan, it's even more funnier. And there's people out there, oh, it's terrible. Oh, I don't want to watch it. Oh, it's stupid. Oh, you know.
Yeah.
All these fans, it's not my Star Trek, you know.
I mean, I think that's why I struggle with Discovery a bit, because there's not such a dynamic mix of characters, and they're all quite serious.
It's not the Enterprise.
They're all quite serious. There was always like somebody that was a bit lighthearted. There were always some like jokes thrown in there, in all the other incarnations of the Star Trek. This one's like very heavy and serious most of the time. Well, except for this first episode of the third season. I thought that the part, again, this is spoilers, but the part where they sprayed her in the face with and, you know, she was being funny and stuff, like, and she goes, oh, you guys have a real problem if your couriers are stealing stuff and then colliding with 1,000-year-old women in space. But what cargo was he? Goes, I don't know, but it was temperature sensitive and really valuable, so it's probably ice cream. Yes, I knew you loved that one. Yeah, that was quite cute. Because Erica loves ice cream, and she will be doing an episode on ice cream very soon. Will I? Yes. Just there you go. You know, just had to link that one up there. You know. But yeah, you know, it's like they've got to. I have a feeling they started doing this because Lower Decks was so funny. Yeah. I mean, Lower Decks is silly, but there's a lot of people who are like, you know, gatekeepers of canon. And they're just like, oh no, this cannot be considered canon because it's too goofy and silly, and they're saying stupid stuff, and it's just like, you know, it's serious. I just felt at first that Lower Decks was too try hard, but then the more we watched it, the more I watched it, it was quite funny. I was like, oh god, they're really trying hard to be funny here, like to be like Family Guy or like what's the science fiction one? The science fiction Futurama or any Futurama, funnily enough, did an episode dedicated to Star Trek. Yeah. They had all the characters back as well, you know. I think Family Guy did as well, didn't they? Doesn't Stewie is a next generation? Yes. I mean, they do. I mean, that it's like a franchise. People seem to kind of like go, oh, Star Wars, you know. That's the most popular thing, but Star Trek... Star Wars is good too. Star Wars is good too, yeah, obviously, but Star Trek, you know, it's like... That's kind of like paved the way for all of this kind of stuff, you know? It has an instantly recognizable kind of like format. Yeah. Ship on a crew, exploring and getting into adventures. I mean, recently we watched that like parody that those celebrities in lockdown did. Sam Heughan and Katrina Balfe and from Outlander and who was it? I think it was who was it? James McAvoy? Yeah. He was like the cat, and they did like this, like, you know, filmed this on their phones and stuff. Yeah, each one of them was wherever they were. And they were doing like a spoof of Star Trek, which is like, you know, it's like you can't really spoof Star Wars because it's kind of a generic story, but with Star Trek it's like, oh, shields up, Captain, and, you know, you're on a ship. It's like it's a familiar setting. Yeah. You know, it's very, you know, it's very recognizable, you know. But anyway, to get back to Star Trek Discovery before we have to wrap this up, I think this new season looks like it's going to be better. I'm looking forward to it. It looks like it's going to have an interesting storyline. And I don't think they're going to feature him as much. Oh, yeah? He's kind of like this, spoilers again. He's kind of like this Steve Irwin type character. He's like Save the Animals. Yeah, you compared him to someone else. Yeah, I can't remember who it was now. I compared him to. He was kind of like Newt Scamander from Harry Potter, from Fantastic Beasts. Yeah, he's kind of like that kind of character. Mm-hmm. And you thought, oh, he's just a rogue. He just goes around the galaxy stealing people's cargoes and whatever. And, you know, he's getting by in his wits. He's broke and he just needs all the money because, you know, he's not part of the Federation and he doesn't believe in it and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it's like, oh no, he's got a plan and he's just trying to save.
And it's like, oh yeah, because the Federation isn't around to enforce the Endangered Species Act, so people are just, the Orions and the Andorians have taken over and have started making money on all these endangered species and all kind of lawlessness, that the galaxy is lawless now because the Federation isn't around to like keep the police, keep the peace. And
the one thing I will say though is that I kind of was hoping actually that they were going to set it up where maybe this whole season was going to be just her like meeting new people and just being on her own, and we were going to meet a bunch of new characters like him.
Yeah.
And then she, and then eventually maybe next season she'd meet up with the rest of Discovery,
Yeah,
but it looks like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll be half a season before she meets them. It didn't look like that in the previews, but
in the preview it looks like next episode she's going to meet them.
Find them, yeah.
Find them. That they're going to come through the wormhole, and then they're going to start rebuilding the Federation because she met this guy and he was like the gatekeeper, and he was like, every day I do this, but I don't know how much of the Federation still exists.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is because there's been so many people whining about, all the Star Trek series just focus on the humans and the Federation, and I want to learn more about the Klingons, I want to learn more, I want a Romulan show, I want a show about all the other galaxy. And it's like, well, this is it, the Federation's kind of gone.
Yeah.
This is an interesting kind of like dynamic now.
Yeah.
And it's like they kind of did that in Picard as well. It was kind of like, there wasn't really too much to do with Starfleet or anything like that.
It's a way to talk about building the Federation without having to go back in time and do a prequel.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's rebuilding the Federation.
It was a clever...
rebuilding Starfleet and everything.
It's a clever idea, and
I think it's going to work out.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about it again. If you guys have any interest in this, we can talk about it again. And if you've stuck with us to the end of this episode, then more power to you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Hands up, those of you who knew anything we were talking about.
Hands up, we can see you. Come on.
Hands up. Hands up if you knew the word Federation, what that was all about. If
Federation.
you knew what the Enterprise was, any of that kind of thing. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. That's your homework for this week. is to tell us all about what you knew about Star Trek.
Let us know if you found this episode interesting. And maybe we can do another one. Maybe we can do one about the lower decks or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I was just gonna say I thought, as I said before, I thought I wasn't gonna like Lower Decks as much as I did, but it's kind of like an episodic format, and the characters are pretty cool, and it makes funny references to like the all of Star Trek pre Nemesis, pre the new Trek, as they call it, Discovery, Picard, and there's going to be one with Anson Mount as Captain Pike.
Oh yeah,
Strange New Worlds. So it's coming at some point.
We've got Star Trek coming out the wazoo.
Yes, and it's back on TV, and people are mad.
And I mean,
that it's not their Star Trek.
You know what? Lockdown may be happening again all over the world. We're gonna need stuff to watch, so it's okay.
Yeah. Hopefully they've got production started.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. As always, if you like this podcast, be sure and share it with your friends. Help us spread the word. Give us a rating on whatever podcast app you're listening to us on, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, and don't forget to enter our giveaway.
Yes, giveaway.
Woo!
You have until November 10th, I think.
November 10th.
Entry closes November 10th. So go check that out. Any social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, we're at TButty, TEABUTTY. So thanks for listening, and we will talk to you guys next time.
And in true Star Trek style, live long and prosper.
I thought you were going to say Dominic out.